Welcome to the Kickstart Your Edge Play to Win Leadership Podcast,
where we've flipped the script with our groundbreaking modus operandi to bring you real, relevant, and relatable tactics and techniques to master your own play to win mindset.
Talk about a superpower. It's time to iron your cape.
What we know for sure is what got you here won't get you there.
You can't see the spinach in your own teeth.
And finally, hang on, because this one is really deep. Once you realize that you are the traffic, everything makes complete and unadulterated sense.
Welcome to the Edge, where playing not to lose is not an option. Hey, Care.
What's up, Jen?
Today, we're going to talk about my newest obsession, your always obsession, which is all things called golf. And we have been having the summer of tee times and practice and learning. And one of the things that you absolutely love is watching golf on TV. And so with the US Open just finishing, I think there's some pretty interesting insights.
You know what's funny about that, Jen? That yes, I do love watching golf. And it's funny for how long I stopped watching it. But then, and originally, so here's the funny part about it, right? I used to, years and years ago, I used to call the golf channel the sleep channel because I would put it on and I would just fall asleep because it was so quote unquote boring. But then I started to play, which got me so much more interested in it, which got me watching it. But then stopped playing for a really long time. So stopped watching the golf channel for a really long time. So, or whatever, just golf on TV. But then recently, started playing again. So I started watching again. But it's interesting how you do entertain a lot of my stories about what's happening in the golf world through whether I'm watching it or whether I'm boring you with actually reading you parts of articles about golf. And I did.
That was a long article.
It was a long article, and it was even funnier because it was the wrong article at first. But like, wait, hold on, this isn't right. But anyway, what I want to talk about today is something that's just so, I don't know, it's one of those things. Is it mindset? Is it skill set? Is it tool set? Is like, what is it that causes you to play great golf? And here's just, I mean, we're going to talk about the US Open in a bit and about Rory McIlroy, but it's even funny, just how you show up and play golf. One day you're like, oh my gosh, you're nailing it like yesterday. And 3 days ago, it's like, what happened? Same thing for me, right? I'm killing it. And 2 days later, I'm three putting every couple of holes. So the thing here is what happens? And so often we're like, oh my gosh, we screwed up, or we need to change something. And this doesn't just apply to golf, guys. This applies to everything. So this weekend with the US Open, this guy, Rory McIlroy, amazing golfer, has won, I don't even know how many golf tournaments since he was like 25 years old or even younger than that. But he entered into this tournament at this big US Open. It's at Pinehurst. He's 3 shots back. And technically, nobody really thought he was going to win it. But then what happened was he got insanely focused. People were saying, he looked like a killer. And he opened up a bunch of birdies. And he's playing and playing and playing. And he's on fire. And he's actually 2 shots up. And he's in the lead. And then people talked about that on the 16th hole. And for those of you who don't know, golf is 18 holes. On the 16th hole, fear kicked in. And he had a simple, for him, par putt, 2 feet, 6 inches. He missed it. Starts giving himself these internal cues like, okay, calm down, puts his palms together. And basically what happens then is he got in his own head. And he stopped playing the game that he swore he was going to play. And the game that he had a plan, right? And think about it, right? How often we all have a plan. We get disciplined. And it was interesting. His plan was really to play boring golf, disciplined golf. And he actually said he was just going to try to be super stoic the whole time, be as even keeled as possible. But somewhere between hole 16 and 18, fear popped in, the wheels fell off. And what happened is people said that he played scared. Now, how Jen and I really like to talk about this is that he started playing not to lose versus playing to win. And I mean, he didn't stop knowing how to play golf, but what happened is something got in his head that jacked things up. And granted, he did lose the tournament. Another guy just, that was playing really well beat him. But the big thing here is at that point, he abandoned his plan, everything that worked, the wheels fell off. So I just like to talk a little bit about that. When you have a plan, you're sticking with your plan, something happens, a stressor gets thrown in there, and you abandon everything that works and you play from a place of fear and stress.
It's such an interesting insight to be able to deconstruct this because, yes, the internal dialogue that must have happened. Of course, I wasn't there. I'm not inside his head. I don't know these things. However, at the 16th hole, to be able to say, like, oh crap, did I just screw this up? I can't believe I missed that. Who's right behind me? Who's coming up ahead? How am I going to regain composure? I need to stay focused. Don't let this rattle me. Like all of those thoughts happen when those moments happen. And then everything can start to get adjusted based on those thoughts, right? He maybe said to himself, oh my God, you blew it. You can't lose this lead. And the moment you say you can't lose this, you start to play not to lose.
Right.
And he wasn't risk taking the whole way. Remember, Karen, when he said he wanted to play boring golf. So it's not like he's like, I need to rein it in. But he did say all of a sudden, you can't lose the lead. And what did he do? He lost the lead.
Yeah, and that it's funny, Jim, because in this case, right, he abandoned the plan, and essentially he became a different person at that point. Right. Somebody even said that his eyes looked like he was playing through a deer in the headlights. And he was using clubs that he hadn't used the day before because he was playing, from a different place. And, it's interesting to see, at what point are you doing all the things that you normally do? Something gets a little bit derailed and you start choosing from a place of stress and fear versus, okay, I got this.
Yeah. And it's quite evident. I mean, he was pretty irritated. My understanding is at the end of the match, he did not stick around for interviews. You could almost hear his tires squealing out of the parking lot just to get back home. And he has made a public announcement, I think, that he's taking 3 weeks off to regroup and pull it back together. But it's so interesting when we feel we have a lot on the line, how fear can really get in the way of us achieving our goals.
And think about it, Jen, it's just a thought.
Yeah.
And that's the part of this that we have so much control over because, he just did that spiraling thing probably. I mean, we're talking about the guy we know, but we're just making shit up right now based on how we would look at this situation, right? But something starts to go a little sideways and then it completely goes sideways and the wheels just keep going off. It was interesting because there's this stat out there that before Sunday, he was 496 on putting inside of 3 feet. Like, that's an insane stat. So if you think about that, when that goes off, did he know that? What? I don't know, just all these thoughts that happen that just make things go sideways. And I guess what I'm trying to say here is at what point do you kind of try to say, oh my gosh, I need to call a timeout? What kind of mind tricks was he playing? And then did he just abandon the mind tricks that he was used, that worked for him. I don't know, because it is the US Open. There's a lot of history with that and with him not being able to win it. So yeah, just all about your thoughts.
I know. So it's fun. So obviously we'll sort of wrap this up with a couple of key questions. It's, where do you feel in life you have a solid game plan, and that lately you've been knocked a little bit off that plan and you've gone from confidence to fear and you're starting to play not to lose, right? How do you know what got triggered? What are you doing differently? And how do you get back to the solid foundation of what got you here so that you can get there? All right, that's it. We'll talk to you soon. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Kickstart Your Edge Play to Win Leadership Podcast.
Craving more? Of course you are.
Check out our website at kickstartyouredge.com,
where we fire you up, fan the flames of your competitive edge culture, and ignite your tenacious pursuit of an all-out play-to-win mindset.